Dadnarok presents the Falcon and the Winter Soldier after show. This is Sean.
And this is Chris.
The whole world is watching episode 4 of season 1. I don't know how, with these Marvel shows, I don't know how many seasons there are, if there are multiple.
Yeah, no, I think this is a one season thing.
Yeah, just episode 4. We are Dadnarok, in case you don't know, if you're just joining us for whatever reason. We have a YouTube channel, we have an audio podcast. We have all kinds of things. Check us out at dadnarok.com. You're going to see everything that we produce. But just off the bat, what'd you think of this episode?
This episode was really dense.
Yeah.
And I would say pretty flippin' fantastic.
Yeah. I thought this was the most enjoyable out of all the ones that have been released so far. It was like a slow burn, but it just kept the energy kept going up and up and up until you got to that final confrontation. It was just like, ooh.
Yeah, it was one thing after another. I mean, there was a lot of big things that happened prior to that. You know, the Dora Milaje show up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty bad. I mean, the whole episode was awesome. I mean, there's no other way. But all you got really to say is damn.
Yeah. What'd you think about the old Zemo music video that they put out?
The dance cut? I cannot believe they did that. No, actually, I can believe that's the biggest difference between Marvel and DC. Marvel just has fun.
Yeah, they knew the people wanted the shots of Zemo dancing, and they provided it to the people.
Oh, they must have seen it coming too, because it didn't take them very long to put it together and get it out there.
So this episode, it opens up in Wakanda. That was a surprise. Like, hey, how about that? A little bit of a flashback with the Winter Soldier, his progression into the White Wolf, and them kind of curing those keywords, getting those keywords out of his brain.
I love that. When he was sitting there, he was like, "Don't do it." And Ayo was like, "I won't let you hurt nobody."
Right.
And then going through, and you see him like fighting.
He breaks down. Yeah.
And the tears and everything. And at the very end, when she says you're a free man, you're free to go, or something down those lines, he starts smiling like, we reprogrammed me, essentially.
Yeah. It was pretty powerful, and it gives you an instant relationship between these specific two characters,
which is very important for this episode.
Yeah, and you even got a Shuri name drop where Bucky was like, "Thank you," and "Thanks, Shuri. I appreciate everything you guys have done." But yeah, it was very cool. So then we kind of flash forward to how we left off in the previous episode, where they're standing on that that street corner, and she basically tells him, "Hey, you've got so many hours, like 8 hours.
You got 8 hours. Well, talking about working under the clock,
right?" At least she gave him that. She could have cut him in half and given him 4 or whatever.
She could have just walked right up there and did it then.
Right. But yeah, it's just so Bucky has a time, a time limit now. He's got 8 hours to do whatever the heck they're going to do with Zemo before they come back for him.
I love how you walked up in the apartment. It's like, yep, Wakanda's here.
Yeah, he wasn't secretive. He didn't keep it to himself. He was like, "Oh, I just ran into the Wakandans, and yeah, we've got 8 hours."
Yeah, they're coming regardless. I like how Zemo was like,
right.
Oh, the whole leverage thing when Bucky grabbed that glass and chucked it and got right up in his face. I'm like,
yeah,
ooh, yes.
Oh, and that little moment where after Bucky walks away and Zemo just like exhales, he's like, ooh. You could tell like he was kind of bracing himself, like he didn't want any of that.
No, he didn't want that heat.
Yeah. So what else happens after that? So they're still like up in this, apartment, this loft up here in this city. Are they in Latvia? Is that the country I think they're supposed to be in?
Something down those lines, yeah.
Yeah. And Sam, one of the guys knows he's talked but won't talk. What's Sam up to? What's his point of view here currently? What are they trying to do? What's at this point of the episode?
Oh, well, this is gonna be an intriguing video here.
I guess it's a little because it's kind of a slow start in this episode. Oh, well, what I remember is Zemo. So they're basically discussing about what to do next because they're kind of at a loss. But Zemo has this.
Oh, that's right. They go to that like little town where that little like they're kind of almost like a church type setup. There's like that 4-year setup, and they walk in.
Yeah,
Zemo's in there. He's talking. and then Sam and Bucky are walking around, and they're not getting anything about this lady that they're looking for that passed her funeral, so they can find Callie.
Carly's
Carly, yeah,
her
Carly.
like adopted mother or something. She basically was like the matriarch of this Flag Smashers group. Seems like a lot of these people or these I don't know, the refugees. They don't really call themselves refugees, but these kind of lost people came together around this woman who ended up dying, and Carly has kind of taken the mantle as their leader since then. But yeah, so Bucky and Sam, they're basically going to walk around this town just asking folks like, hey, do you know Carly? Do you know Carly? Where can I get Carly?
Well, they weren't exactly asking for Carly. They were asking about, this
Oh, the
lady.
mother that had passed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're asking us that if they knew who that was, and everyone was scattering. No one wanted anything to
Oh
do with them.
yeah. I mean, they
Eh,
were on to him immediately.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
they
there was
don't know
one
who
guy.
Sam is.
Yeah. Well, there's one guy that actually talked to him. Was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I know who you are,
Right.
but I can't help you.
Yeah.
He
Sorry.
said they're not
I'm not here.
refugees. They're displaced or something like that. They're not. They don't need refuge from something or something on
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
lines that he said.
Yeah, and Zemo had his own plan. He knew right from the get-go, before they even left their little apartment, he brought that Turkish taffy with him. He had a plan.
Yeah.
And he went up to the kids. He knew the kids would have, I guess, looser lips and be able to divulge some information easier than these adults who were trained and knew kind of, the bigger picture of things.
Yeah.
And he got the information he needed. He knew when this funeral was going to go down for this woman, and that Carly was definitely going to be there.
Yeah, and he's playing the angle. Like you already see him like working his way. Like, how do I get free of these guys?
Right.
And he tells
at
the
least,
kids that they're bad guys.
how can I get some leverage so they're forced to keep me around? Like,
Yeah.
Put some information in my brain that I'm not going to divulge until I'm safe, that kind of thing. So, once again, Zemo, very cunning. You can't really trust him. It's very close to like a Loki kind of character. Like, he's the bad guy, or somewhat a bad guy, or an antagonist is probably more accurate. In the comics, he's a straight up villain. I mean, it's a little bit more black and white in the comic books. You got your heroes, you got your villains. But Baron Zemo, we know his, backstory, which is fairly tragic. We see and understand his point of view on a lot of things, which, makes sense a lot of the time. So I don't know if it says more about me as a viewer, or it's just that they're writing this guy a little bit more shades of gray than black and white.
No, absolutely. I mean, and there's a conversation that takes place between Bucky, Zemo, and Sam about the super soldier serum and how it corrupts.
Yeah.
And it was a really intriguing clip. And I'm going to go ahead and run it for them. We'll talk a little bit more about it after here.
Desire to become a superhuman cannot be separated from supremacist ideals. Anyone with that serum is inherently on that path. She will not stop. She will escalate until you kill her. Or she kills you.
Maybe you're wrong, Zemo. The serum never corrupted Steve.
Touché. But there has never been another Steve Rogers, has there?
There's never been another Steve Rogers.
Right. Yeah. Even Zemo has to admit that Steve Rogers was, the perfect candidate, and, was able to keep his moral compass intact. But that's, all these other people that have been under these experiments, it hasn't been that same story.
It shows their true self.
Right.
I think that's what he's really trying to get at here. It's like this serum, all of a sudden, now that you have this power, it's going to show who you really are, not who you are pretending to be.
Yeah, which is a real different sort of look and aspect of this super soldier serum, where it was kind of hinted at in the original movie, where they were trying desperately to choose a candidate to take on the Captain America role. And when Dr. Erskine was developing the formula, and I forget the colonel's name, but Tommy Lee Jones in that movie, when Steve jumped on the grenade to save the life of everybody else around him, they kind of looked at each other and were like, well, maybe this is the guy. Maybe this scrawny little runt has what it takes to, because they saw his character right then and there. So yeah, maybe that's a thing where it's like, we need somebody that's deep down, somebody who can handle. And if the super soldier serum makes them more of who they are, then if you start out with somebody who's, morally just like that, then it's, just going to turn out to be okay in the end.
Yeah, exactly. You're hoping they don't do anything crazy.
Right. Which we see more and more of from Mr. John Walker in this episode. We'll get there, but
Well,
whew,
he's definitely a nutcase.
yeah. So they're after Carly. They're doing their thing. Sam is desperate enough to even contact Sharon Carter at this point, just begging like, "Hey, we need to go find Carly, and I'm running out of ideas." And
Dude, the more we hear and see her,
yeah,
the more I think I am on to her. And the
yeah,
funny thing was, after like that happened, that came to me. I'm looking at like other things. I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is theories by other people too. They're figuring this out, which
right.
was pretty fun. But
Yeah. Well, the
yeah,
longer that we go, that we consistently keep seeing Sharon, but we don't see a reveal of who the heck the power broker
mhm.
is. I mean, it just more and more comes together where I think they are. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think you
no,
called it.
absolutely. Yeah, no, but finally Sam catches up to Carly and they are at the funeral and he just kind of walks in and he does that like that movie thing. He walks in, he's like an upper level. He looks down, they make eye contact, and he just kind of backs off. He's like, you know what? Giving you your space. And he has basically 10 minutes,
Right.
apparently. He was given 10 minutes by John Walker, who really has no authority over them. He thinks he has authority over them.
Right.
And basically, Sam and Bucky put him in his place many times.
Yeah, which you can tell is increasingly frustrating John Walker. So they're all together basically in this one building. You've got Carly, who's at this funeral. You've got Bucky and Zemo and Sam, because they were able to track down Carly, and I suppose that Battlestar and John Walker were able to somehow they're keeping tabs on Sam and Bucky. I don't know if it's satellites or what, but they got the
Well, you
government's
said
help.
like that you guys can't walk around with people not knowing who you are or where you're at.
Right.
So I mean,
So
there's got to be a little bit to that.
most of our core cast is here in this building. So it's about to go down. And John, he lets basically like you said, he gives Sam 10 minutes to do his thing, and he can't even wait the whole 10 minutes.
No, he starts freaking out.
Yeah.
And then like, Bucky stands in his way. Then he tries to play the guilt card on him. It's like, you know what? You're gonna have your partner's blood on you. And he didn't say it this time around, but earlier in the episode, he's like, he's not my partner.
Right.
I love like this. Still, like we're working together, but there's still a disdain between the two of us.
Right. They haven't exactly worked through their issues yet. They've been too busy, too distracted.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell they're working well together.
Right.
But it's definitely a working relationship. They're not going to go have beers afterwards.
Yeah, that guy's my coworker, right? Yeah, that's funny.
Oh man, but yeah, when Sam sits down, well, he never actually sits down.
No.
When he's talking to Carly, and they're making sense. They're connecting. They're making progress together.
He physically, he respects her space. He talks to her in a way it's like, look, it's very down to earth. He's like, hey, I actually agree with a lot of things you're doing. I just don't necessarily agree with how you're going about it.
Yeah, the means of the ends. Yeah.
Yeah. And he is using all of the tactics or conversational pieces that he's used before in the VA. I mean, he's had difficult conversations with people that have been in battle before. And he said, and basically earlier in the episode, he's like, hey, I'm the exact right person to be able to talk Carly down.
Well, I like how he was talking to her. Not only he didn't like turn his back, but he showed a comfort with being with her that comforted her.
Like, because Carly ends up just like sitting down on the table, and you could tell that just from her body language, like she's more relaxed and she's ready to open up a little bit to this, and she's starting to trust him a little bit.
Yeah, and then when he says someone calls her a tyrant.
Yeah,
that sets her off, and she says something like, "I didn't mean to say it that way," but the back and forth, the dialogue. I mean, there was no action in this portion of the scene.
Right.
It was just a back and forth, and it was one of the more enjoyable parts of the actual episode because you learn a lot about what her mental well-being is. Like, where is she at? Why is she doing this?
Yeah.
And then Sam he's able to connect with her on that level.
Right.
Which was then Cap screws it all up.
Yeah, John Walker. Yeah, Sam was making progress until John Walker decided to come, blast in before the 10 minutes were up and say, you're under arrest, wagging his finger. And
under whose authority? You're on foreign ground.
And of course that looked like a betrayal, from Sam, but from Carly. Like Carly thought that Sam was just
a whole setup,
and all that progress was just lost immediately. So yeah, we get into a pretty hefty, I guess, fight/action scene. We got some good character development, and then we went into some action.
But before we get too long, I mean, there was another conversation that Carly had with one of her other, like fellow flag smashers.
Yeah,
when they're actually picking up the super serum. Apparently, it's at like a cemetery underneath some stones.
Yeah,
and some things around.
Had it hidden, and then she was kind of like putting it on her person.
Yeah, and this actually, I mean, gives you some real more deep character like building of what the mindset of the flag smashers really are. I mean, they're not. Yeah, they may be considered like an actual terrorist group now, but their mindset may be a little different than what people may think.
Right.
And let's just check this out here.
I didn't think there could be another Captain America until I met you. Now, back then, there was just good and bad. But the world's more complicated now. People are lost. They need a leader who looks like them, who understands their pain. Someone who understands that today's heroes don't have the luxury of keeping their hands clean.
Yeah, so this guy was even admittedly a fan of Captain America when he was a kid. And, I don't think there's any terrorist that views himself as a terrorist. It's just a line, depending on what side you're on. You're either in a revolution or you're a terrorist. You're a freedom fighter or you're somebody that's causing harm and terror. So it's once again, we're just like with the flag smashers. They're really walking this line between whether these people are just in what they're doing and how much they're helping, or is Carly stepping over that line and going too far. And they're really kind of having that balancing act. And they address, Sam and Bucky even learn in this episode how Carly, just bombed and firebombed that building last episode and killed a bunch of folks.
Oh, he called her out on it too when they were actually in that funeral.
Yeah.
I mean, and she was like, well, I mean, we were kind of talked about it. She's like, you know what? They're just pawns in my way, and if I got to kill them, I'll kill them again. And then she called herself real fast, like, whoa, that's not what he went, whoa. And he's like, no, that's not what I meant. But that's what you said. And she tries to back off it.
She tries to walk it back a little bit, but I mean, she was revealing her true self at that moment, I think. And it's so funny because John Walker and his character is almost the opposite, where from the get-go, you knew this guy was like, this guy's trouble.
Just dirt.
Yeah. So what's that ends up happening in this fight? I know Battlestar, he ends up, it's not until the end of the episode where he gets hurt.
Well, this is where after that, I think all this took place. Did they know what? I think we skipped the spot where they actually wound up back in like the hotel room.
Yeah, because Carly gets away. Like they try to track down Carly. There's a kind of a fight ensues, but Carly ends up getting away. They lose her. Yeah. And they do end up getting back to the hotel.
And they're sitting there, they're talking, trying to figure out what's going on. And Sam basically confronts Walker. He walks up to him. He's like, you know what? No, you got to change your tone. It's not going down this way. I mean, you have no real authority in this situation. Just because you're carrying the shield doesn't make you an authority.
Right.
And Walker's like, we're going to put down this shield and start going at it. And I was like, are you really? And next thing you know it, the Dora Milaje, I said that wrong.
Dora Milaje, I think it is.
Yeah, Milaje. Yeah, there we go. They walk in. And also,
time's up.
Tone changes immediately.
Yeah.
And I love how Walker was like, oh, I'm Captain America, offers his hand. She's like, nope.
Yeah. Even she knows. She's from Wakanda, and even she knows, like, you're not Captain America.
Yeah.
So it goes down.
The authority, we have authority wherever we are at.
That was a bad line. That was good. And so they get in a scuffle. It's funny because Bucky and Sam, it's like they don't want to fight. They're like, at first they're just like, I mean,
well, Sam can we talk? Should you stop this?
Yeah. And it was actually, honestly, it was very satisfying to see John Walker just get his butt handed to him.
He got the crap kick. I loved when one of them threw their spear and actually pinned the shield down.
Yeah.
And then he felt completely helpless.
Yeah.
It's like that was awesome. Just the pure, like, I got the crap kicked out of me by someone that was not a super soldier.
Right.
Look on his face.
At
was
the end,
amazing.
he looked so dejected, and he was like, "They weren't even super soldiers," like, with his pouty
No.
face.
Yeah, he's gonna start crying about it. It's like, dude, I mean, get over yourself.
Right. And in this, scuffle, in the confusion, Baron Zemo, he kinda slips himself into the bathroom, and from there, he escapes
They called it
into
an
the
El
sewers or
Chape
something.
style.
Yeah. He gets into a tunnel, and he's out of there. Do we even see him the rest of the episode?
I don't believe we did, no,
I
because
don't think
after
we
this
do.
here, Carly calls and threatens Sam's sister.
That's right. Yeah.
And then Sam's like, "Oh no, and then he has his own like little he calls what's her face and she starts tracking
Oh, Sharon,
Walker.
yeah.
Yeah. She starts tracking Walker and they meet up and he's like, "Oh, you didn't come alone." It's like, "You think I'm stupid?" I mean, he comes all geared up too. He's like, "I'm not even going to walk into this."
Well, let's talk about that, because I mean, that scene what started out as very kind of innocent, where Carly, first of all, it's scary enough to know that this world famous terrorist, quote unquote, knows your phone number, knows your name, knows how you're connected to Sam, knows where you live. And she was kind of dropping those hints here and there. Just on itself, on the face of it, is very much a threat. Like, just, you're a known entity to me. And I apparently have a conflict with your brother, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But by the end of the call, like, she's very much like, "Oh, I'm going to have to pay you a visit." Like very threatening, like very scary, which of course, the sister, she immediately calls Sam and just tells him everything that just went down.
He's like, "Pack a bag, take cash, go."
And when Carly was saying that, I totally believed her. I didn't think she was fronting. I didn't think she was putting on a fake. I believe that she meant what she said, that she would. It sounded like truth to me. But then later in the episode where Sam confronts her, she's like, "Oh, I would never do that. I'd never hurt your sister."
I kind of buy that though. I buy that. I had no intentions, but I had to make you know that I was serious.
Yeah.
That you had to show up.
Yeah, and once again, it's like she's walking that line, man. Like, it's hard to tell. It's a very blurry line with her as far as how far she would go on these certain things.
And at this point, she still has all the serum, doesn't she not?
Yeah, she still has it on her person before this final fight, where it gets dislodged.
Yeah. Well, she gets they start fighting, and next thing you know it, she gets shot by Zemo. Zemo shoots her. And then all the serum is on the floor, and he's like, "Is this what?" Now this is where I was like, "Oh boy, what's Zemo going to do?" Because he had the vial, and then he slams it on the ground, starts stomping on all of it.
Yeah, this actually might have happened before in the last confrontation, because there was basically two main fights. There was one kind of in the middle, and then one towards the end. I think that happened in the first one when Carly was able to get away. That the serum basically falls, and Baron Zemo, there's a split second where you don't know if Baron Zemo is actually going to take a vial and like for himself and become a super soldier,
it and actually go ahead and like produce more.
He could have done anything. Like, he could have done that too. But he was true to his code. Like, he doesn't want people. That's the whole reason he's working with Sam and Bucky to begin with, is that he doesn't want more super soldiers.
He has the stomach to actually finish the mission.
Yeah, and for a minute there, I was like, well, is he going to like become the thing that he hates in order to destroy other people that he hates? Like, you could justify that, I guess, but he doesn't. He ends up just smashing as many as he can before he gets pulled away somehow.
Yeah, but while he's doing that, he catches a shield to the noggin.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh, could you imagine
No.
Ow. But let's check it out. Let's see how this would actually feel. Dude.
Yeah. That was quite the edit there, how you opened up on that thunk.
Boom! Just falls over. Well, that scene was hard to actually come together for me. Reason being, there was so much importance that happened there.
Yeah.
There was him finding the vials, him smashing the vials, John Walker picking one up, slipping it in his pocket. Woo, my bad.
Thunder.
And it was just like, okay, what do I key on? And I figured him picking it up and slipping it in his pocket was, very telling. I mean, if you knew where this was going. Everybody knew where this was going. The whole episode was leading up to him doing this.
And you've seen John Walker's insecurities pretty much since he debuted during that big like tractor trailer fight scene where, you know, he was kind of getting his butt kicked a little bit there too. Like each and every time that he's not the, you know, the Steve Captain America, he falls short in some way. So of course, like he's going to want to take that shortcut and take the serum himself. But so far he just puts it aside. Yeah, I don't think he's taken it just yet, but later in the episode he definitely does.
Yeah, and they never actually show him take it.
No.
But Bucky walked into the room once. He's like, something's off with him, or I know psychopaths because I am one, or something. He said something like that.
Or and I think there's another part where Sam actually views him just like arm check a guy, and the guy goes flying. Where it's
Yeah, then there was that one scene we seen where he's fighting another, you know, one of the super soldiers, and he bends the pipe and to complete you, and then the other soldiers are like,
that's when it became pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So I guess we got to lead up to this final fight here. So at this point in the episode, Zemo's, you know, got out of there.
Gone, yeah.
You know, he ducked into the sewers and he's out of there. We've got Sharon Carter, who is, you know, just kind of providing intel, but she's not really on the scene. But the people that we have in play are, you know, Buck, Cap, or Bucky, Sam, right?
Yeah.
I want to say Captain America, but it's John Walker. Brave Star's still around, and they're once again they're after Carly, and Carly's got basically her friend that we met earlier in that clip. And yeah, the fight goes down, and they're just kind of all fighting each other, and
the Walkers are being held, and Carly's getting ready to just something like either kick him or punch him dead in the chest, and that's when Lamar or Battlestar just takes her out. And well, I mean, that wasn't the best of moves for him, but
no, because he got a swift retribution. I mean, like a kick, super soldier kick to the chest,
and that
put him into a pillar.
That pillar, fell over, and you seen his head just kind of cock over, and you knew immediately. You knew it was over.
Yeah, which is surprising that we have kind of the main character of this show, you know, gone almost like halfway through. It's pretty early, but I mean, at the same time, it gives, you know, it's kind of a jumping point for John's character, John Walker's character, to really start going over the edge now.
Yeah, Carly and everyone runs out the door. Sam and Bucky are going after him.
Yeah.
And then you see Walker look at the window, and he does the jump through the window and the superhero like land on the truck. And then he starts running.
He decapitates this guy. This guy earlier that was saying how he loved Captain America when he was a kid, and now he dies by the shield. And
he is like, you see the psycho in his face with the shield above his head.
Yeah.
And, well, you know, let's watch some of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Yeah, intense.
Dude.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh my! When he started doing it, you seen immediately, like it happens nowadays. This is an actual picture of what happens now. Phones were out. Phones were recording.
Yeah,
that is everywhere. That Captain America shield and uniform, it's got to be done for the foreseeable future. I mean, you can't roll that back out.
No, I'm very curious, like, what the government is going to do with this John Walker guy. Like, did they try to play it off as though it was no big deal, or he was actually protecting these people? Because you know how things can.
They're going to try to spin, yeah, but there's no way. I mean, there's no way. And I want to know: will they take the shield from him, or now is it going to be? Because both Sam and Bucky seen this take place.
Yeah, or did they decide that it's okay for him to keep the shield, and this is the final straw for both Sam and Bucky, and they decide, no, we got to take this.
We're taking the shield now,
right?
And I mean, Bucky versus Walker. I'm sorry, Walker's gonna get his butt kicked again.
Yeah, especially you get the full on fury of Bucky.
What that shield means and what you just did to that shield.
Right. You're going to get full Winter Soldier Bucky going after you. Plus Sam. I mean, Sam's no slouch. Sam holds his own with those wings, man.
Yeah,
he
knows
does
what
all
he's
right.
doing with them.
Yeah. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to be John Walker right now. That's for sure.
I mean, he's going to have to be called back. I mean, they're going to have to call him back. And I don't care how many, rewards you got for that one, stint you did over in Afghanistan. They're not going to protect you from murder.
No.
And that's essentially what that was. He just straight up murdered that dude.
Yeah. Yeah. In front of everybody. Like,
the whole wide world was watching.
That's right. Yeah.
That's all over YouTube now. YouTube, Twitter. Good luck. We're going to cancel Cap.
And that's that's where we end the episode. I mean, we've got Carly, who's just lost one of her friends in the Flag
Smashers.
And she's
seen it all happen. She's like in shock that this just happened. Sam and Bucky are there in complete and utter shock.
Yeah.
And then he staggers back like, I don't know what I just did. Because you see that kind of in his face, not his face, but his posture after it happens. It's like he just went completely nuts. But it goes back to that same conversation that him and Battlestar had when they were kind of in that little mall situation.
Right.
Is like, this will reveal who you truly are. So we kind of talked about that. They hinted at that earlier in the episode. And he's truly a dirtbag. I mean, they did dirty. He said, they did things that were dirty to get those awards that they were given. So, I mean, there is no righteous character in him at all.
No, and it's going to be really interesting to see where they go from here, or even how the next episode opens up. Like, are we going to open up on this street at this scene, or is it going to, skip some time and we learn what happens in the aftermath? I don't know, but it leaves this episode and this series with 2 episodes left as a very interesting spot.
We're getting nice length of episodes, though. This was almost 50 minutes. Yeah. So I feel like they've got probably almost close to 2 hours left. And if they do it right, they can kind of give us a satisfying, conclusion to the show. So right. I think this is it. 6 episodes, and this is going to tie into some type of movie somewhere. I kind of want to know what's going to wind up happening with, Zemo and, Wakanda. Is that going to tie into their TV show?
Right. Are we even going to see them anymore? Because they're both kind of like off the charts now, like, off the grid. Baron Zemo kind of disappeared, and, their main objective is to get him. So I don't know if they're going to be interacting with Bucky and Sam going forward in this show. So yeah, that's interesting if they even reappear in the next 2 episodes.
Next, there's no need for them to actually show. There's no purpose, because if Zemo is not with them, they're there for Zemo.
Who do you think the final boss is? Is the final boss in this series the Flag Smashers or John?
I think it's John.
Yeah,
I really do. I think the Flag Smashers are a nice side story, because, like they said, they're going to have. Well, they're trying to fight a war on 2 fronts. Yeah, they had the Power Broker.
Oh, and the Power Broker. I forgot about him. I mean, we still got a lot to learn about that too.
And then there is Sam and Bucky.
Yeah,
and now there is Walker doing his thing. And now they're down 1. So there's not as many of these super soldiers in the Flag Smashers as there was. Yeah. And there's not going to be any more because all the serum's gone.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean,
very interesting episode. Yeah. And each episode kind of ramps up and gets better and better, really. And
yeah, this was by far, for me, the best one yet. Yeah. Just because, I mean, the action's great, but I love the dialogue. I love learning about Carly. I love learning Zemo's mindset, and how he was like, there's only been one Steve Rogers.
Right.
Even because they've tried this serum on other people, and he's the only one that hasn't been corrupted.
Yep.
So, I mean, even Bucky was corrupted. And, well, he was programmed.
Right.
But, I mean, he's been rehabilitated.
Yeah, and these Flag Smashers and just everybody else who's been in and outside of the program has had something where it hasn't been as glossy and clean and nice as Steve Rogers' run.
Dude, there was one thing we didn't talk about. Ayo pulling that the 2-3 finger point on his Bucky's shoulder and his arm falling off.
Yeah, and his arm's just falling off. Of course, they have something like that, a little trick.
Did you see his face? He looked at the floor like.
To literally disarm him.
Then afterwards, Sam was like, "Did you know she can do that?" He was like, "No,
No, he was just standing there like, "Oh man, come on."
I'm a one-handed man in a ass kicking contest."
He was looking at her like, "I can't believe you just did that to me." It
Oh,
was funny.
that was a good scene. But
Yeah.
yeah, man. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, we thought WandaVision had a lot to tie up in the last couple episodes. There is
This is a dense show.
a lot to tie up here.
WandaVision had a lot of mysteries, but this show is just dense. Like, it's packed, and the episodes are longer, and there's just like a lot of different pieces to the puzzle going on. A lot of different facets. And
I don't want to see the end of the Flag Smashers. I don't want to see the end of Carly.
Right.
I love her character. I love the idea behind her character. I love the grayness. Like you said, they're walking that really, really fine line. Is she bad? Is she good? Marvel does that great. I mean, you compare her to Loki. I mean, Zemo. I mean, there's a lot of Marvel like villains. I mean, Thanos.
Yeah.
I mean, that think they're doing good, but the ends don't justify the means type setup. So I want to see her character continue. I love the whole idea. Like what one guy was like, I never thought there'd be another Cap, but they wanted someone that looked like them and sounded like them, and been through what they've been through.
Right. Yep.
And the shock in her eyes when he said that, it's like I don't think she ever compared herself to to Captain America, Mr. Steve Rogers.
Yeah, and the best people that would be worthy of that moniker would not even imagine that they would be the right person for it. Like Sam, Sam can't imagine himself as Captain America, which maybe means that he's the right guy to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that shield's gonna be put in that museum. It's gonna be put away. No one's gonna carry that shield for a while. We were always wondering who is gonna be the next Captain America. There isn't gonna be a Captain America in this phase of Marvel. This is basically phasing him off.
Well, I'm fine with that. Big picture, like just looking outside of the story here. Chris Evans did such an amazing job as that character and embodied Steve Rogers through the entirety through a decade of Marvel films.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely fine with them just like retiring the character. If they want to keep John Walker and make him the agent or whatever, the super agent, call him a different thing. You've got the grandson of Isaiah. You've got Isaiah, that character. God, I hope we see more of him. I don't know.
I don't think we will. No.
And you've got his grandson who may end up being in part of this like new Avengers, but he's going to be, going as the Patriot. As far as Captain America, that character, if they just go ahead and retire it, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, it's kind of like Iron Man. I don't want to see anyone else in that suit besides Robert Downey Jr. That's it. I mean, no one else feels right in that position.
Right.
Oh man, but I think we got through this pretty good. I mean, like I said, it's dense, so it's hard to get through.
It is.
But it's amazing. So you want to give them a rundown of what we do again?
Yep, we are Dadnarok. We're here each and every Friday at 10 p.m. to go over Falcon and Winter Soldier. We've got 2 episodes left. After that, we'll move on to some other show to talk about each and every Friday, I'm sure. We also do kind of shows in between, a little vlog series called Dadnarok High Voltage, when we just BS about anything pretty much. We've got our audio podcast that comes out anywhere podcasts are sold, which they're not sold. But you Apple,
can pay us if you
Spotify.
want to.
Yeah, absolutely. But besides that, check out dadnarok.com. You can see each and everything that we do. You can see links to past episodes. You can see links to our shop at TeePublic. But yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay, guys. Well, we do this, like I said, every Friday night at 10 o'clock. And until we see you again, I'll say, let's just keep it cheesy.
See ya.